We reached out to a number of people. That's one of the big things in this industry is everyone wants to help. So if you have a question, they'll answer it. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be the founder of Night Shift Brewing, which is pretty big, or even if I'm sure if I reach out to Sam Cook, he would answer my questions.
And that was Kevin of Anonymous Brewing, and you're listening to an episode of Brew Roots.
The Brew Roots podcast is proudly affiliated with the Mass Brew Bros. Be sure to check out their website to stay up to date with all Mass beer-related news. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brew Roots, where we tell the stories behind your favorite craft beverage. This is Sound Guy Ryan, and joining me as always is Erica and Matt.
Hey everyone!
What's going on?
Not too much. I'm very excited for this week's episode.
Yeah,
because
it's your own hometown.
It's my own hometown,
own backyard.
And the weird part was I wasn't even here for the interview.
You were not. It's super sad. But we really hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Aura Brewing with Daniela.
That one was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was just so different.
It was very different.
It was cool to hear from London.
Well, I thought what was the most fun part of the interview was him asking us questions about
right?
What the beer scene is over here.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. It was.
We were like ambassadors.
It
was a two-way interview. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was different.
So what? If you haven't gone back and listened to that, you should do that.
You should.
Because
hit pause, listen to that, and now listen to this week's episode.
Back. Exactly.
Or listen to this week's episode, and then make sure you go back to next week's.
Yeah, what else are you doing? It's COVID.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's COVID. You're hopefully wearing a mask.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So guys, it's been awesome this week because I finally got my hands on Gilded Skull. Again.
Again, I know I was going to say their second release. I just got it today, and I think you just got it today too.
I did, but I was so happy. They're water snakes. Which is such a cool name.
They are water snakes.
No, that's the beer's name. Water snakes. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you can go back in
go on back and
listen to that episode. Yeah, but Gilded Skull, love their story. Neil is an awesome guy.
It's a solid
and
beer.
his story is incredible. So
yes, exactly. So
support. We've had a lot of really good stories go through here for the past.
We have indeed. Yeah,
we've had some of our best stories during COVID so far. So
yeah, and we've actually had some of our best listening months and engagement on social media. So thank you everyone who's done that. We've had huge numbers.
And
do us a favor and tell a friend. And make sure that those friends tell another friend.
And then
another friend.
Rate and subscribe while you're at it.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Or go into an AOL chat and just write Brew Roots is the best podcast ever.
Or AIM. Do you guys remember AIM?
Oh, how could I forget? What was your screen name?
Cybercow. Yeah, that's what it was, actually.
Ryan, what was yours?
I didn't have one.
You weren't allowed to?
He was too young. He wasn't old enough for it.
No, I was old enough. I just didn't really feel the need to.
Or you just had no one to talk to.
No, I was gaming out on Duke Nukem,
What?
Duke Nukem?
Yeah, it's a game.
Yeah, it's a game. And I had all the old school games on my PC.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mine was Blinken Park 182.
Oh, you're so cool, man.
Yeah, that's you know what? That's actually what we should ask in the interview. What was your AIM screen name?
Oh my god, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Next
interview.
You guys, this was really fun. We figured this out.
Yeah. So I've been drinking the Gilded Skull, and I've also been going through older beers that I have in my fridge, and
my fridge is so full right now.
Yeah.
It was empty. I emptied that during COVID, and now recently I've just completely stocked it back up. I can't help it. I have to support my friends.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Every time I go out, I just buy beer.
I'm looking forward, though. In 2 weeks, Ryan and I we brewed beer.
We did. We brewed a pale ale.
Yeah.
If you guys don't follow us on social media, do that.
The process was borderline miserable, but.
Well, it was so hot, and then it rained.
And it was their first all-grain experience.
Yes,
so.
And I already know we will do it way better next time. I know this. I've done so much more research. I understand the temperatures everything needs to be at, how to make sure the temperatures are relatively in the ballpark of where they're supposed to be at.
You guys came into the store with like no idea what you were doing, and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh my god, you're doing an all grain beer today, and you don't know what you're doing."
Yeah, but no, I know.
You learned and you went
I
out there and
know
got some
what
more
to
information.
do, and I think from there
Good job,
I can
Ryan.
only learn, even more. But I'm super excited. Like I want to say, like Matt and I were texting, and I was like, I just want to.
You were sexting? What?
No, texting.
Oh,
Jeez,
sorry.
Erica,
I was like-
come on.
I just want to brew tomorrow again.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that's
after
cute.
our experience, we're like, oh man, this was so much fun, and we learned a lot, and I want to apply that like right now. Like I don't want to wait for another couple weeks,
Right,
3
man.
weeks.
We are so lucky, though. I mean, not to brag, but to brag. Like, we have Ray from Rockport who's going to come and help us with our next home brew. So, like, we'll
Yes.
actually have a professional home brewer,
It's
like a
good to have
professional
friends.
brewer,
Yeah.
like, get us through the growing pains. But it was important to kind of figure out that stuff on our own. And,
Oh, absolutely.
hopefully make us better interviewers and kind of know the process. I've homebrewed only extract brews before.
Samesies.
So to get a little bit of that knowledge and understand and
yeah.
how much it sucks to do sometimes.
Well, I mean, it sucks, but when you really
Once
get
you
down
figure
to
it
it,
out,
once you
you
know
guys
what you're
can do
doing,
it,
it doesn't
yeah.
suck, and
No.
it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you get to worry about all the other things you're adding to it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to change this thing, and
Yeah, there's always cause and effects. And I
Yeah.
think
Definitely.
I think you and I and Erica, we were excited to do it on our own after we did our brew day with East Regiment. So
Definitely.
I'm glad that we finally did
Finally,
it.
yeah, for sure.
So we'll report back how good or bad it is. Our friend Jenna told us it's going to be low in body and not good, but we'll see.
that's okay.
It's gonna be
and
easy
that's
drinking.
okay.
Come on.
It's okay.
Crushable.
Crushable. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, but I'm excited for that.
So-
have you guys been drinking anything else other than
Other than Gilded Skull,
Yes. Like,
of course, Ryan.
I know. I drink a lot. Well, right now, I'm drinking Night Shift, one of their one hop series with the Topaz hop. Now, actually, speaking of Night Shift, I saw an article that their beer garden is going to be opening.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that, but that's cool.
In like a week or two. I don't know if it's complete BS.
I think you're making shit up.
I'm pretty sure I actually messaged it to the Brutes Facebook page.
Wow, did you?
To inform you guys before this recording session, but clearly you didn't read your messages.
I don't know how to read.
I
Yep.
mean, I didn't know how to read until I was 18, so that's okay. But other than that, I mean, I've been doing like lagers, like Maritime Lager, Bent
solid.
Water Lager, Mighty Squirrel Hefeweizen.
Ooh.
It's like
I thought you
all-
got your hands on mic check.
Oh, I need to do
Ooh,
that.
speaking
so
of
bad.
lagers, I went to Remnant actually the day because I wanted to get their bottle release. A very funky bottle release. I can't wait to try it. And then I got a crowler of their. I don't know. It's like a Pils lager. I can't remember the name of it. It's
Great
like just Pilsen.
Oh, cool.
It is so good though.
Yeah.
I love Remnant.
Oh, yeah.
and that Pilsen lager is amazing. So
I
if you're in the area.
I'm very excited because Remnant is doing a collab with Faces right now.
Yeah.
And
Can't wait
I
to
just
try
know
that. It's
we
in
saw-
barrels. It's in
Oh
barrels.
yeah,
You
remember
see
that
it?
time
We saw Danny, and then
in
we
the
saw
homebrew
Ed.
shop?
Yeah, like Danny's an awesome brewer. Ed is an
We
awesome
love her.
brewer, and Charlie's an awesome brewer. So those three together, just making an incredible beer. It's,
Awesomeness times
Yeah.
3. Awesomeness to a third power.
Yeah. And I know Charlie just being super excited about barrel. So like, it's gonna be kick ass.
It's gonna be so amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked a lot about our friends, but they're awesome. But this week the focus is on Anonymous,
Our other friend,
our
Kevin.
friend Kevin,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of love for him because it's hometown love, and we live in the same
Oh
town,
yeah.
and that brewery's in the same town. So
And the best part was Matt wasn't here.
Yeah,
when we
that
did
was
it,
the
so
It was so
part.
great.
I quit.
Just saying, you're fired.
Yeah, all
We
right.
say
Done
that
with
every
you.
time. It's all right. We love you.
So I guess before we go to that episode without me, the worst interviewer ever, I'd love to hear a word from our sponsors, which we'd probably have more if I
Samesies.
wasn't part of the podcast.
Oh.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer, So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
This week's episode would not be possible without our amazing sponsor, Shirts on Tap.
Each month, they team up with breweries from across the country and create a custom shirt and deliver it to your doorstep, along with stickers and coupons.
Sign up today using the promo code BREWROOTS for $5 off your first box.
Head on over to shirtsontap.com today. And remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, and cheese.
Not sure where to start? The knowledgeable staff at Beer and Wine Hobby are there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. To learn more about them, check out their website, www.beer-wine.com.
Don't forget to use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today. Cheers. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brewery Roots. I'm here as always with sound guy Ryan. Even though he's actually sound engineer Ryan, if we're going to be technical. So.
Yeah, I felt like I was offended. This sound guy thing.
Yeah.
No, it's just something, when you're in the profession and they're like, oh, the sound guy. And it's like, oh, ouch. Like,
actually a sound engineer.
I'm getting a master's in this and I'm still called sound guy. Like, come on. But no, it's all good. So, Erica, we're here at Small Pond Studios in Georgetown.
Our new fave spot.
And we're here with Kevin from Anonymous Brewing, which you're based out of Rowley, correct?
Just down the street, that's right.
Just down the street. So we knew this was like the place to do it.
It was meant to be.
Yep. Quick, easy drive, but he was also down the street doing like, what is it, Little League?
Yeah, my son was playing a game at elementary school here in Georgetown.
That's amazing.
Nice.
So we always like to start these interviews asking your role at the brewery, your name, and what was your first memory of beer?
Good question. So my role at the brewery is I'm one of the founders. Me and a friend of mine founded in 2017. My first memory with beer, I must have been like 15. I think, you know what? I was at a party in the woods in Lynn.
Solid.
I was at a party in the woods in Lynn at Spring Pond, and I was actually 14. I think I was 14, and I was there was a keg. I had a couple of beers,
Yeah.
and I guess I got a little loopy. One of the older kids in school started calling me Two Brew.
Aww.
Thank God that nickname didn't stick.
Yeah, right. That'd be rough right now.
Yeah.
The Two Brew Brewer.
Yikes.
That's all right. That's cool. Do you remember what beer it was?
Oh, probably something cheap, like Busch Light, something like that.
Yeah.
Natty.
Yeah.
So then what happened next? I assume we didn't walk into that situation like, I'm going to be a brewer.
No, my path went several different routes. I was initially I was in school to be an accountant at Bentley College.
Fun.
That didn't go far. I think 3 semesters I lasted there, and then I started working, just jobs to make some money over the course of time. After a while, I started skipping out on those jobs to take some pictures. So I would, just call in sick, go to the woods, take pictures, drive around, take pictures.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got a job as a photographer, and I was working, doing senior portraits and school pictures and, that sort of thing for a few years. Decided that I wanted to open my own photo studio, so I did that. It was in Lynn, the JB Blood Building. I think it was around 2009 that I did that. Ran that for about 5 or 6 years and did a bunch of weddings and baby portraits, things like that. So then I just kind of like fell into a job as a designer, graphic designer with one of the clients that I was working for at the time. Still there, so that's my full-time gig. Making beers part-time for me. It's a side hustle. So the whole concept of starting the brewery just sort of came from a 10-year sort of geek out on home brewing, where I would, I started with the brew in a bucket,
Yeah.
and jumped pretty quickly to whole grain, all grain, not whole grain. And from there, I just over time, just started developing all these recipes and making as much good beer as I could. And went to Bissell Brothers with a close friend of mine, Mike, who was the co-founder of the brewery with me. And while we were there, we were looking around. We were like, we got to get into this. This is fun. It's a party scene. It's a good time. It's good beer. Let's do it. So just over the course of the 6 months that followed, we started planning. We figured that the best approach would be to be as contractors, just because we didn't have the money to start a build out on a brewery or anything like that. So that's what we did. 2017 in October, we brewed our first commercial batch at Ipswich Ale, and we've been contracting since. Up until now, a few things have changed, but we can get into that. So that's sort of where it all started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I had no idea you've been brewing for so long, honestly. I kind of thought you were new still.
Yeah, it was really funny. Erica, before this, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus here.
It's embarrassing.
But she was like, oh, I'm going to go pick up some of his stuff at the store before I get there. I didn't know he had cans in stores. And I'm like, what?
I don't know how I didn't know that, but for whatever reason, I just was like...
You're not from around here.
I think that's what it is. So you're still kind of local to this area. Well, you're in Boston and Cambridge now too.
That was sort of part of the benefit of the partnership that I had. Is my co-founder is on the South Shore. He's in Weymouth, and he works in New Bedford.
Okay.
So he was able to handle accounts all the way down towards essentially the Cape. Yeah. And then up through into Boston. I was handling the accounts north of Boston and. Sort of out west. I think we are as far out as Westford at this point.
Okay.
We did have a couple of accounts in Worcester, just something that we sort of fell into at the time.
Yeah,
But yeah.
All right, so get out there and find us beer.
Yeah.
Don't be me. It's out there.
I know, right? We've been on shelves, and you know what? I understand completely. Part of the challenge of all this is recognition, really.
Yeah,
I mean, especially without having your own tap room for people to come and share beer with you.
Right.
And when we were researching, we reached out to a number of people. That's one of the big things in this industry is everyone wants to help. So if you have a question, they'll answer it. Doesn't matter who it is, it could be the founder of Night Shift Brewing, which is pretty big, or even if I'm sure if I reach out to Sam Cook, he would answer my questions.
Probably.
But one of the feedback that we got a lot was you will need a tap room. You need somewhere for people to share your beer. And unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards. Maybe down the line.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not the only one. I mean, there's several that we've interviewed very recently.
Yeah.
Right.
Matt Smith, Ray Pickup. All of them they don't have the tap room yet.
Yeah. So and one of our biggest supporters at the time was Mike from Small Change. He was
cool. He's a great guy.
He was the guy that gave us all the information we needed because these other breweries they know the rules and the laws pertaining to what they're doing. Mike knew
it's a whole different ballgame when you're not in a tap room, though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And Mike knew what we needed to do, so that helped. And then over we learned our own things over time, and we would share feedback with him and. Whenever there was an event notification or something that we were emailed on, we'd bring him in on it. It was, it was sort of like a good little back and forth that benefited us both. And if there's a new restaurant that opened up, we share contact information, just advice and tips on how to get the beer out. One of our strongest selling points was our willingness to go and pour at stores, just tasting events.
Nice.
We must have done. Mickey did so many more than me, which is probably the precipice of everything. But we must have he must have done 4 or 5 a week for a good year.
Wow.
Yeah,
good
I mean
for
there were
him.
days where he was doing more than one in a day, and
jeez.
and I would try to get at least 1 or 2 in a week, and
Right. Which is what I
try-
think would be pretty good. 1 or 2 a week. I mean,
Yeah.
that's solid.
Try not to
4 or
reschedule too
5.
many of them, because they need me there to try to
Right.
sell the beer. And whenever we were in stores and selling the beer and people were tasting it, they were like, "Wow, this is good. This is good." And the feedback was always tremendous.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what drives it. You want people to tell you your beer is good. If people are
Right.
saying your beer sucks, it's you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was good, and it would fly off the shelves when we were there. What we ran into often is without us being there, people didn't even know what it was. And some of the stores, like a handful of the stores, were proactive in selling it. Like, yeah, these guys, this beer is good. You guys should try this out. They would sell it to their customers,
Yeah.
and those are the ones that we are holding on to.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that I am looking forward to working with in the short term, and then more forward in the long term. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we saw that more, as someone who owns a package store, right? Like, you want that customer interaction, like, what do you like? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I
Yeah.
got the beer for you, right?
Yeah.
I want to say even, last week with our interview with Daniela, that's what they said,
Yeah.
It was very, the people there do a good job interacting with the people.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. And I think once people started to try it, they'd be going back and looking for it.
Right. Right.
A lot of stores it would sell really fast, other stores it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And the whole concept all along was to try to. So we ended up in more than 150 some odd locations
Wow.
at one point, and
Jeez.
that's a lot for
Yeah.
two people
For
to
two
manage.
people.
Yeah.
So the whole idea, and we were always just sort of going back and forth on this. Like it's got to be 40 stores. We've got to get into 40 stores. We have to have a regular rotation. That was what we were going to do,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
so that was the approach. And then as it started playing out, we started getting into a rhythm. Then we hit the end of the year. Last year was the last year that we were licensed as wholesalers.
Okay.
So what we did is the wholesale license in Massachusetts is really expensive. When you consider that you can get a farmer brewer permit for $22 or $21.
Just out of curiosity, what is a wholesaler? Like, how much does that cost?
It's dependent on production amounts, but
Yeah.
for what we were doing, it was somewhere like between $4,000 and $5,000.
Oh my gosh. And
For a
$22
year.
for
Wow.
farmers brewers.
Yeah,
That is
And that's so,
insane.
you can self-distribute, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So and
Wow.
at the time we didn't know, and in fact it was Matt at Wandering Soul who was the
Of
one.
course.
He was the one that told us about the farmer brewer permit. He was permitted years ago, even before he started making beer,
Yep.
Yeah.
and he told us that he went through that process. So we were like, well, we could do the same thing. So we did, and it was a little bit painstaking. There's a lot of paperwork involved.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
A couple of what I call site visits, which may have been sort of drive-bys.
Right.
I don't really know for sure. I was never actually there for them. But
Yeah.
but the whole idea is to just sort of have a space that's licensed to be a brewery. So right now my garage is a farmer brewery,
Awesome.
and that sort of is it's sort of like the initial phase of where I am now. At the time, it was intended to be strictly a pilot batch area,
Yeah.
sort of like a test kitchen. And when we were going through that part of the process, we weren't able to brew because it took a lot longer. There was like some 90-day window from when we submitted the paperwork to when we actually got a response from the state.
Yeah.
From the state.
Oh, you know
Right,
what?
right.
Actually, the delay may have been the federal. I guess it's irrelevant, but one or the other.
There was a delay.
There was a very long delay.
Yeah.
And when our wholesaler license expired at the end of 2019, we weren't able to brew until we were permitted again. So that was probably February or
Of 2020 at this
February
point.
2020.
Oof. Yeah.
So then we get on the
timing.
schedule
Right
finally.
before the shit.
Yeah, the shit show.
So we get on the schedule finally to brew Tiffany, which is our New England IPA. It's named after a friend of ours. I don't know if you guys have had it. I think it's delicious. I recommend it.
Have you had it, Ryan?
Dave actually at Georgetown Liquors, he sold it out, so you weren't able to find it in
No.
there. That's the
No.
one that flies off the shelves because that's
Yeah.
it's the New England IPA everyone's looking for. It's
Of
new.
course.
Of course.
Haze craze.
We've brewed it.
Pays, craze, pays.
Yeah. We brewed it a couple times, and it's been very successful. But we packaged it the day before self-isolation started, essentially.
Oh, great.
So in a lot of ways, the pandemic sort of benefited some breweries to the point where, people started doing home delivery that never would have done it before.
Right.
You find some obscure wording in the laws that allow you to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But then there are all these other bigger breweries who suddenly need to find ways to sell their beer in a more retail-focused manner. So
Yeah.
the shelves start filling up.
Real fast.
Yeah, so the little guy like us, who we don't have any real reputation, we don't have any real... we don't have sales people, so
Yeah.
we're not in the stores talking with the buyers as often as you should be if it's if it's a full-time job
Yep.
selling beer. So we sort of got we found it a challenge. We did sell through it, but we found it a challenge to get through the Tiffany in a reasonable window. If you want to sell a New England IPA relatively quickly, it's got to be got to be fresh.
Yeah, for sure.
So we managed through it, and I think it almost killed my partner. And he was like, you know what? I think this is a lot harder for him. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think it was a lot harder for him to sort of compartmentalize things. He was all in.
Yeah.
And it was
It's a lot when it's just two people trying to do all that work.
Yeah.
And I think another thing along with that is
COVID.
that you don't have the tap room for people to do takeout beer.
Right.
Right,
exactly.
A lot of these breweries have the people that go in all the time as a tasting room, and they're like, oh, I can't go to the tasting room, but I can go get their cans at the source, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you don't have to do all the work at the packy stores. Be like, hey, make sure you sell my beer, right?
Right. And in craft beer drinkers who are loyal to their breweries, they help the breweries out in that way.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't something that we had. And again, I'm not complaining. It wasn't like...
It still sold the beer.
Yeah, we sold the beer. We
Yeah.
in all this time, it's it's work, but it's fulfilling, and we're selling the beer, and we're having fun, and we're chatting with people, and
Yeah.
having conversations about the beer, or why we decided to try the recipe in this way, or what we might do differently, that sort of thing.
Right.
But in the end, my partner, the co-founder, he decided that he wanted to take a couple steps back. Which is cool. And we talked about it a few times, and we tried to decide, what the best approach is. And he's not gone completely. He's still just sort of a little bit behind the scenes. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but when we were in the process of selling the Tiffany, that was when, at the same time, I was renovating the garage.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so
Your brew space.
my brew
just
space.
to reiterate, yes.
I was renovating my farmer brewery.
Yes.
Essentially, that entailed tearing everything out and starting it over with just the shell. So it was a lot of work to do that, and at the same time try to get through what we had of Tiffany. But we managed, and as we were building out the brewery and he was taking a step back, it sort of happened simultaneously. And at the same time, I was trying to get on the schedule with Riverwalk to brew another IPA that I had actually homebrewed in March, bottled, and shared with a bunch of people who told me it was great. So I was like, all right, well, we'll brew that. It was called Spin. It was sort of a modified version of Waylay, which is our red IPA, or the red
That's what I'm
New
having
England
right now.
New England
It's
red ale.
Delicious.
But it was essentially an IPA version of that. It was pale. It was great, and it was very drinkable. And brew with a base of Maris Otter. So I was trying to get it on the schedule at Riverwalk, and Riverwalk has been supremely busy with
So we've heard.
You don't say.
with contracting.
Yeah.
So in fact, I think even during like the whole COVID pause, they were adding capacity. So I think that's which is cool for them. But at the same time, it was going to be weeks and weeks before we got on the schedule. And Mickey was taking a step back, and I'm thinking, all right, well, that means eventually when I do get this packaged, in fact, I got to the point where I had labels designed and everything. I was going to order them. But when I do get it packaged, I'm going to have to sell it all myself. And
that sounds fun.
I was going to do it. I was ready to do it.
Yeah.
And one morning, I was just sort of scrolling through Facebook while I was sitting at my office desk for some reason.
Right. Weird.
Yeah. And and I came across a post on the Mass Brewers Guild from the guy Richard Stafford from Cohituate Brewing. And he had a very small brewery in his basement, essentially, at his house over in Wayland. And he had all this equipment, everything that he built out on his own. And he was looking to unload it. He was taking a step away. He's ready. His kids are older. He's ready to just sort of be done. So I immediately messaged him and asked him, specifically what he had and what he was looking for as far as price was concerned and stuff. So in the end, we worked out a deal, and I have his brewery in my garage.
That's awesome.
So the idea moving forward will be to brew small batches, hyper nano batches, if you want to say, like it's one barrel.
Yeah.
I have 4 one-barrel fermenters that I hope to keep full all the time.
That's a solid amount for a small brewery.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you keep it full all the
Yeah.
time. Like when
Yeah.
you empty it, you're
Yeah.
going to be filling it the next day.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So that's the idea. And I will continue to sell that beer to those accounts earlier that we were talking about, the ones
The
where
40 or whatever.
the ones where people are going into the stores and looking for our beer.
Yeah.
If any of those beers become something that people want me to brew more of, if the people are looking for it in different parts of the state, then that's where I'll go back to Riverwalk and say, hey, can you get me on the schedule? And they'll help me out. They do a great job there. One of the benefits of taking this approach is that I have a lot more control over the brew process.
Definitely.
And it's sort of like going backwards to
to go forward,
I kinda-
kind of, right?
like,
2 steps back.
yeah.
whatever.
It's a full electric system, fully automated, but it's sort of home brewing again.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I have control over water chemistry. I have control over temperatures that in the past I've just sort of been reliant on the head brewers at the host breweries to manage.
Here's my recipe.
Yeah,
Brew this.
precisely.
Oh, looking
Yeah.
at this. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do this. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so the idea of being able to do it all in house at this point is exciting, and I'm looking forward to getting it done. Right now, the build out's still not completely there. It's almost there. I'm just I'm waiting for I just need a new outlet installed.
Yep.
The electrician is scheduled,
Yes.
so I'm hoping to be brewing hopefully as soon as this weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
So sometime towards the end of the summer, we'll start getting back into some stores and restaurants. I have a couple restaurants that have already sold. They're already asking me for stuff, so I'm looking forward to
In this
working
area,
with them.
I assume.
Well, sort of. You may have noticed earlier. I have some roots in Lynn.
Right.
So
right.
there's a couple places there.
Okay, cool. Whereabouts? Just give a little shout out.
Yeah, the Gannon Golf Course has been carrying us and selling us pretty consistently.
Sweet.
Tides in Nahant, which is just down the street.
Nice.
They're always good. And I played softball with the the restaurant manager at the Black Cow, so
cool.
I can usually twist his arm,
Yep,
put a keg in there. And then, if we find some new accounts, Public Kitchen, the guy, Richie at Public Kitchen
really
is
nice
always, he's always willing to try us out. And
Yeah.
so, like those sorts of accounts
Very cool.
are what's fun and what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions kind of stepping back a bit. When you were saying that you let people try your beer and you got a lot of good response, it was the IPA, right?
Yep.
Who were you giving that beer to? Because, you don't want to just give it to your family because they're always just going to say, "Oh, it's great,"
Yeah.
So, who else were you giving it to?
Yeah. So it was there were some friends of ours that ordered it. I don't know if they were doing it just to be nice, but they definitely they gave us some good feedback. And then there were others who some people that we delivered to that I had never seen or met before that liked Waylay or liked Tiffany. So they would order some Tiffany and they throw in a spin.
Nice.
And they gave us some really good feedback on it too. There's a couple of reviews on Untapped. There wasn't a lot of it. I think it was just a 10-gallon batch that I made. So, and then I bottled it in some Belgian bottles and put a pretty little label on it.
Nice.
But,
are you looking at Untapped at all at this point? Or what are your feelings on Untapped? We always like to ask that.
Guilty for checking.
Right?
Consistently. Not every day. I'll look once a week. It's one of those things where, people like what they like, and that's cool. The problem, it's not necessarily a problem with Tiffany because Tiffany generally rated pretty well because people like New England IPAs. The problem that I saw occasionally in a store would be buyers were hyper-focused on that Untapped score.
Yeah.
And if, to the point where you could bring them a sample and they'd love the beer and they'd be like, well, what's your Untapped score? And I'd be like, I don't know. And they'd look and they'd be like, it's kind of low. I think I'll skip that style. So that was occasionally, it didn't happen a lot, but it was occasionally something that I ran into.
Yeah.
With Untapped. I like the idea of it to track, I don't do this. Mickey always did. So we have some other friends that do, but they track all the beers that they try.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is it's part of there's no real beer loyalty within the craft beer circle. There is. I mean, there are people who are outside of that circle who are loyal to beers, but everyone wants to try something new and get mixed 4-packs or which is cool. I mean, I like that too. I like trying new beers, but at the same time, it makes it hard to brew. So we could brew a batch of Waylay and sell it in a couple weeks, and then we're like, well, that went really fast. That's cool. So we brew it again, and then it's a lot harder to sell because everyone's already had it.
Right, and they want to try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've noticed that as well when we've talked to people about it. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of places that benefit from that where they're brewing, a lot of breweries that benefit from that where they're brewing a lot of different
And they have
beers.
tap rooms where they have tons of different beers on tap.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
yeah.
So there's definitely some challenges to contracting. And I think, working with this sort of hybrid approach that we're going to be doing, I think it's going to benefit us. It's going to benefit the beer.
Yeah.
And I think people that drink our beer will benefit too.
So my next question, going back, was you said that you're going to get your new system up and running, and you're going to go back to your accounts in the restaurants, right? Are you going to be bottling, or are you going to be canning yourself?
That was my next question. Are you going to be doing that yourself? Yeah.
I think initially the first handful of batches will all be in kegs.
Okay.
Okay.
One thing that Richard at Cohituate did have was a can sealer and a labeler. I wasn't able to pry that off of his hands. So not at a price that I would have been able to do it.
That stuff is expensive.
Yeah, and it was very
Canners
expensive.
aren't cheap. Yeah.
So in bottling a barrel of beer is not
Total pain in the
yeah,
ass.
it's not pleasant.
I know, not fun.
Don't
So-
recommend.
10 out of 10 don't recommend.
So it's all going in kegs
Cool.
to start. And there aren't a lot of retail accounts, stores, Packy stores that will sell kegs, but there are a few. So I'll keep my eye out for those ones
Yeah.
and see how they do.
And you're just in Mass right now, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
I think I think you need to have separate licensing to be able to distribute to other states.
Cool. So back to brewing. What is your favorite beer style to brew? Just for curiosity's
To
sake.
brew,
Or
I like
drink.
brew. I
How
love
about
brewing.
drink too?
I love
Both.
brewing the porter, Kings Hill.
Oh, all
Really?
right.
Yeah, and every time I brew it, I try to make it hoppier because I like a hoppy porter. And
Your porter's definitely hoppy.
yeah, I want it
great.
hoppier.
It does say Hoppy Porter on it as well.
It's great.
Well, I think again, I go backwards to contracting, and I think people sort of misunderstand what I'm trying to accomplish with that. I don't know if you guys have ever had Pappy's Porter from The Alchemist.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
It
maybe.
was the like flat out inspiration for that beer, and it was hoppy, and I'm trying to get to that point.
What a shocker.
And
That's really cool. I don't know of any other hoppy porter. So hoppy as in the bitterness, or are you trying to get more of the aroma? And
Both.
Both.
Okay.
yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's almost sort of like a hybrid black IPA.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little sweeter, a little more chocolatey.
Okay.
Not as dry,
Yep.
but hoppy.
Very cool. What kind of hops do you like to use in that one? If you can tell us.
I want to say Mosaic, Centennial are pretty much standard in beers that I make.
Yeah.
Citra goes into a lot of things too, and then we can experiment. I brewed a small batch. I don't know if we actually sold these ones or not. I'm not sure if Mickey approved. A small batch IPA with Nelson Sauvin
Ooh. Yeah.
and a few other just sort of different types of hops.
Not like the popular
Yeah.
hops per se.
Exactly.
Not the boring huge,
It ain't no Galaxy.
Ain't-
No. So are you guys capable? Are you what is it? Cicerones? Is that
Cicerone.
Cicerone?
Yeah.
You guys like certified
I'm
Cicerones?
beer server certified,
Okay.
Yeah, so she's
and I'm
beer-
working on my full Cicerone.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I watched all the videos and I never took the test.
Okay. That's,
So he's halfway there, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still take the test, right?
I could just take the.
What about yourself? Are you certified?
I am not, and
Okay.
so I tend to some people are able to taste what hops are in a beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If something is obvious, it's obvious.
Yep.
But there are people that can pinpoint, the
That's a
third.
gift.
Yeah. That's not me. What I do is I sort of imagine the flavor profiles sort of blending together.
Okay.
And then I decide, what would work and what wouldn't, and I try that.
yeah.
Sort of like a you just kind of freelancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you're making things, you're throwing it together
Right.
and
Right.
keeping track so you
Yeah.
can replicate it. But it's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think I read in your bio you take a lot of inspiration from food. Is that correct? Or
Yeah.
cooking?
So at one point, I love to cook.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
I have a chili that pairs with the Waylay. It pairs with the Waylay almost perfectly.
Nice.
Almost.
Almost perfectly. It is perfect.
okay. Cool.
In fact, it's a small town, Rowley, but the public library hosts a I don't know, is it biannual if it's every 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they host a biannual chili cook-off. In fact,
Oh my gosh, yes.
actually, this past year they didn't do it, and I am the two-time defending champ.
What?
So,
All right. Noted.
so I think they canceled it because they didn't think anyone else had a chance. But I don't know. I was actually.
Wow. You heard it here, folks.
I was gonna try something a little bit different too, and I was gonna go with like a green chili or something, but
Ooh.
maybe
That could be fun.
maybe like open up the field a little bit, make it easier for other
right.
people.
Yeah.
My recipe is top notch, and I make it For the competition, I make it with turkey and beans. When I make it for
okay.
myself, I make it with ground chicken and no beans because
Gotcha.
I prefer
Try
not
to be a
have
little
the beans.
healthy, I guess.
But yeah, cooking for me it's a lot in the same. So I have an art degree. My background again is in photography and graphic design. My full-time job is a creative director, so I like to sort of make things from nothing.
You're kind of a creative person.
Yeah,
one could say.
and I think it's Bone Up Brewing. They had, I don't know if they still do this,
I love Bone Up.
but the girl
Liz.
she was a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
She does all their artwork.
Yeah,
It's
she's
super
brilliant.
cool. She is, yeah.
And her, I think they had like a tagline. It was like beer from ingredients.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the whole idea is you're just mashing ingredients together and
Yeah.
making beer. When you're taking pictures, you're mashing, elements of the picture together to make an overall picture.
Yeah.
When you're cooking, you're doing the same thing. You're throwing ingredients together, understanding how they're going to intertwine, and you are making food that
Yeah.
tastes delicious. In fact,
Preferably.
this is a sort of, this story might tell more about me than I'd like to let on. But
Let's go for it.
this past October, September even, I had signed up for MasterChef's auditions.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a little, you wanted to get nerdy.
Let's get
Let's
nerdy.
go.
All right.
So I had signed up for MasterChef's auditions, and I was going to go. It was the day before my family and I were going to Disney World.
Oh, jeez.
And there was something else that was happening that day that
Probably.
I think like I have 3 kids. I think they were pulled in 4 different directions.
Yeah.
So sadly, I couldn't make it.
No.
I did like practice the meal that I was going to make for it, and I was very happy with it, and it was very disappointing that I didn't get to go. But I'm not sure. Even if I had been accepted,
With
it would have been something.
COVID and all.
Yeah, I was curious about that. Like,
Yeah.
I think they started taping in February.
Oh, wow.
It might have been
interesting.
January,
Yeah.
and I doubt that they would have finished. But I'm curious to see when the next season comes out, what it looks
Right.
like. I watch MasterChef. I
Religiously?
watch people dig gold out of the ground. People who are working the land. Like, these are shows that I watch.
That's cool.
I'm a weirdo.
No, that's
My
awesome.
wife hates it.
Well, I guess speaking, on ingredients and your beer, like talk about your other beers. Like, what do you got going on?
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah. So Mickey always wanted a double IPA. He wanted to package and sell a double IPA. And with him backing away, I think that's going to be the first beer I make. So
Awesome.
and I was talking with there's a home brewer in Groveland, again, just down the street, who he's actually having a bottle swap event on Sunday, this coming Sunday. I'm going to try to stop at. But we chat back and forth on Instagram, just bouncing ideas off of each other. He wants to come brew with me once I get the system set up. I don't think I've ever met him. He did buy beer from us online, and I delivered it to his house. So I know where he lives.
It's a good start.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so he was talking to me a little bit about the water hardness in beer, and he mentioned a specific recipe that he saw where the hardness was something ridiculous. And I started thinking, I'm like, you know what? I can see how that would make it better. So I think my first experimental beer will be a double IPA with elevated water hardness, and try to make it a little bit dry, try to make it a little bit juicy.
That's cool.
That sort of thing. It'll be with Simcoe
Yeah.
primarily, and I think I always like to throw some Maris Otter in there for a grain.
Nice.
So we'll give that a shot.
We like Maris Otter. That was in our ASB that we did at East
Was
Regiment.
it?
Yes,
Oh.
it was.
Yeah, it's a good grain.
It's really
That's
good.
solid.
So other than that, I think, I was telling a friend of mine the other day that I want to brew I want to make some more IPAs. Just because, Tiffany's really the only one that we've ever brewed and packaged, and Spin would have been if things had played out a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of opportunity for experimenting with that style. If you're making a porter, how experimental can you get? You could start throwing
True.
some like chocolate in there, or you could put some marshmallows in there, make a like a stout or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is that's fun, it's cool, and that's part of what I'll be doing. But for sure, in the end, the whole idea for me is to just sort of like create a range of as many styles as possible, but focusing right now on IPAs.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. Again, like what we said, the haze craze pays. You know,
It does.
That's what gets you,
Yeah.
the name. And then once you get the name, you can start experimenting, because when people know they like your IPAs, be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try this beer from them.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it works. I mean, when I go to a packy store and I like this one beer, doesn't matter what it is, I like this one beer from this brewery, I'll go buy everything else from that brewery.
See what else they have.
Yeah, because I thought, like, wow, this beer was unreal. I'm going to get everything else. Anytime I see a new beer that they have, I'll buy it. Right?
Yeah.
How it works.
Definitely.
That's how it works by sound guy Ryan.
It really just simplified it.
You really did. So there you go. Now you know what you have to do.
Now you know.
Yeah.
All right. So one other question I have. What is your kind of favorite part about brewing? Do you have a favorite part that you really like to focus on? It's really just the whole process.
I love when that boil first starts. I don't know if it's because of the anticipation of waiting for it, but
Yeah.
once it
does
starts
take a
boiling,
while.
you get a nice, the steam starts coming
Yeah.
out. The rum starts to smell sticky. It's great.
Yeah.
And then you start dropping some hops in, and it makes it even better. The foam
That's
starts
cool.
coming up. It's great. It's good stuff.
What is something that you want to learn more about in the brewing process?
Oh, definitely yeast. Like
We
growing.
get that a lot.
There's a lot to learn there.
Yeah.
So,
It's
do you repitch your yeast? Like,
No.
You just
no.
use fresh every time?
fresh every time. Yeah, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I've always
don't
been...
There's so
say
much time in
unfortunately.
between each batch.
Yeah, and I've
right?
always
Yeah.
I've always just brewed test batches.
Yeah.
So it's not something. I don't have a lab somewhere that.
Yeah.
Well,
I
my
know-
wife
I
is
know-
a high school science teacher. Maybe I could
Well,
use their
there you
lab.
go. You're all
sneak
set.
in
Yeah,
there.
why
Yeah.
not? I mean, I know a lot of home brewers, like, there's like that cult of people who do that.
Yeah.
They repitch it.
It's a cult, huh, Ryan?
It is a cult.
I've
Wow.
I've
don't
actually
get 'em.
tried. In fact, years ago I tried to. It was probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
That's a long
I
time
tried
ago.
to harness some of the sediment from a can of heady topper.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't take.
It didn't work.
I've heard it work, probably not for all beers, but you can definitely make it work.
It must be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the beer and how much maybe sediment is in each. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and you need like all the right equipment and everything too to be able
Yeah.
to make that happen.
Yeah.
So it was it was a wing and a prayer. It didn't work.
It was a good try.
Yeah, at least I got to drink the heady top.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the part of the podcast where we want to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
First question is, what do you got in your fridge at home
For beer,
for beer or ketchup? I don't
we've
care.
I've got a variety of Treehouse beers that was picked up by a friend of
So
mine the other
fancy.
day.
Nice.
That's a good friend.
Yeah,
That's a great friend.
Very good
Yeah.
friend.
I have one of those friends.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
They right now you order online and they sell these hop packs. I think that's what I got is a hop pack. So.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure beer?
Guilty pleasure beer. I mean, if you call it a guilty pleasure, I drink like Lagunitas and Sierra Nevada. Is that okay?
Fabulous. Yeah, no, why not?
Well, so again, Mickey, he's more of a beer snob than I am. But we're on a couple group texts and with other friends, and everyone's taking pictures of the beers that they're
Oh, of
sending.
course.
You guys probably
Yeah.
don't do that. So I send a picture of me drinking a Sierra Nevada, and he was giving me a hard time about it not being local.
Come on, that's an OG.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever, man.
Like my guilty pleasure would have to be like a Pabst or like a Rolling Rock.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I don't. Yeah, not for me.
No.
Don't mess
not-
with that stuff.
No.
I'm too elite for this.
I'd rather. It's weird. I'd rather not have a beer. Like there's oftentimes Bud Lights
Good
in
for
my
you.
fridge
Good for
or
you.
Buds in my. I just don't. I
Who
don't-
drinks them? Your wife?
My mother.
Oh, that's nice.
My mother, my sister, whoever comes
yeah.
by. If we have a party or something,
make
the
them
fridge
drink
gets
your
filled
beer?
up. Oh, they drink that too.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
If you had
You go for
a last meal in beer pairing, what
yeah.
would it be?
Ooh. Last meal and beer. I would have to say a steak and a Guinness.
I think we've had that one before, but
Just
it's such a
right?
great combination though.
Yeah.
So I don't diss
A
that.
steak and a Guinness.
That's solid.
With some potato,
Of course.
maybe some
yeah.
broccoli.
All right, why
A
not?
little bit.
Yeah,
Good
not a
deal.
lot.
Not a lot.
Just
Yeah.
a little veggie.
Buttery, salty. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Good steak though. Yeah. I'm tasting it right now.
I'm so jealous.
What kind of music do you listen to when you brew?
Oh, I have a Pandora station with a variety. Generally, I don't know if some obscure emo rappers from the late 90s,
Solid.
early 2000s. Like, if you guys ever heard of someone named Sage Francis,
No.
Negative Ghostwriter.
I recommend you look him up. There's a group of rappers from Minneapolis called Doomtree. I listen to quite a bit of that. And then some, some more like alternative, Pearl Jam,
Okay.
Chris Cornell,
All right. Yeah.
a little bit of oldies,
R.I.P..
just a blend of pretty much anything,
Nice.
like anything not too poppy. A little bit of poppy's fine, not too poppy.
Cool.
So where do you want the beer industry here to move towards? Like, what do you want to see to change?
I don't know if anything really necessarily needs to change. I like sort of what's happening with
Cool.
the small local breweries that tend to be sort of like your local bar.
Yeah.
You see it in Peabody with Granite Coast, and you see it in Beverly with
Salem.
4 or 5 of them now at this point. Salem with the East Regiment, there's
Yeah.
another one. It's all that's what I like. And ideally, as things progress with what I'm doing, that's what I want to do, whether it's a brew pub or a small little brewery.
I was going to ask you that in your future, do you still want to open up a tap room at some point?
I do. So I have this planned out in my head, and it's a very expensive endeavor.
No,
And-
you don't say.
Yeah.
And I have a young family, 3 kids, and a mortgage and car payments and all this stuff
All the fun
that
stuff.
sort of requires me to to be a little bit more responsible with day-to-day
That's good of you.
work.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And it's one of those things where if the time is right, the time will be right.
For sure.
I've always sort of had this idea it will be like a couple years down the road, but I stopped thinking that way. And I'm just sort of waiting for something like that to sort of happen. I think it's
Yeah.
so in my head, the vision is, and I don't know if I might have vocalized this before with
That's
other people,
cool.
my wife maybe.
Let's tell us again.
So I want to have a small tap room. I don't know, even if it's just the equipment that I have right now, where I'm brewing very small batches of beer, just putting it on tap.
No, it's awesome. Yeah.
And then the idea that I've been sort of bouncing around back and forth in my head is to have a small 1-dish kitchen where I would bring in on
all
occasion like guest like local celebrity chefs. We'll call them local celebrities. Where they can come in and make a recipe, make a dish that sort of pairs well with one of the beers that's on tap.
yeah.
I don't know if it's something that would be like a monthly thing or a weekly thing, but that's something that I want to do as sort of an event as part
Right.
of that tap room. And on other days, we'll have the chili going in the kitchen.
Of course.
We'll have a couple of other small things, and then
Yeah.
when the inspiration is right, we'll put a dish together
Right.
and have that as part of the menu.
That's awesome.
So that's what I want to do. It's only in my imagination at this point. So
I mean, it sounds great.
It sounds great.
I'm already sold. So whenever it happens,
yeah.
we'll frequent.
If you guys are interested in investing,
Are you
that's-
accepting investors at this point?
No,
That leads me to my next question before we end with our last question. Erica's favorite question is, where can we contact you and find you on social media and the interwebs?
For sure. Our website is anonbrew.com. I believe on Instagram it's Anonymous Brewing. Facebook is the same. There was one, I think it was Twitter, that was a little bit different. I think it's just Anon Brew, just because the other one was already gone.
Of course.
But yeah, we're all. I'm a little less active lately, just because I've been so busy trying to get everything else together.
Yeah.
But we try to post a couple times a week with new announcements, new ideas, and some pictures of the build out.
Yeah.
Looks
That looks pretty
sexy.
sweet.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you could find us there. The website, it could use an update. It has a link to stores where you can find us. Hopefully most of those stores are sold out at this point, but you never know. Restaurants that we're on tap in. I think Tapas in Melrose might still have a keg of Tiffany going, but I'm not certain.
Okay. Cool.
I know Tides just ran out last week because he called me looking for more.
Cool.
So yeah, the website is a good spot to check. Instagram mostly.
Yeah, go there and get some merch.
Merch.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I actually have two questions. We didn't ask this before. So, the name Anonymous, where'd it come from? Just you couldn't find something else? Was this like your
Yeah.
5th, 10th name idea?
No, it's actually usually that's the first story I tell.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like,
When
we're ending with it.
so when we first started researching all this, I mentioned before that this is a side hustle. We didn't want our bosses to know that we had so much extra time on our hands
Yes.
and energy. And I don't know about Mickey, but my boss specifically does. I work for a small company. He follows me on Facebook.
Of course.
So we were trying to remain anonymous, and it's sort of stuck.
Yeah.
The cat's out of the bag, but it is what
At
it is.
this point, right? But
Yeah.
That's
We have
cool.
no affiliation with the hacker group Anonymous. Just
that was the other question. Yep.
Sure.
yeah,
No, that's awesome. That's really cool.
That is cool. So that was like your first name, and it worked.
yeah.
All right. Well,
That's why
kudos.
if
That
you
doesn't
look
happen
at
very often.
if you look at some of our logos, they tend to be blurry. I tried to make them blurrier,
I was gonna say, yeah.
but
It's really cool.
yeah,
And you make them yourself, as you just
Yeah,
stated,
that's-
right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
sort of the
They're
background.
nice. They're very clean, easy to spot, and I like them.
yeah. You got to change things up every once in a while. I think it's time.
Definitely, but I like the base of it,
Cool.
It's chill.
I appreciate that.
All right, and then the real last question. What are you most proud of? Yeah, I know, right? It's always a curveball.
I mean, it's got to be the kids, right? The kids are really the only thing that make me proud.
That's awesome.
I mean, I enjoy creating
it.
things and showing people and
Yeah.
feeling pride in that. But watching the kids do what they do, it's amazing.
Right?
So, I mean, mostly amazing. They're cool. They're cool.
awesome.
My kids are cool. Shout out to them, Aiden, Camden,
Yeah.
Nora, and my wife Ellen.
Nice. That was a great shout out. I love it.
Well, Kevin, we really appreciate you doing this tonight with us, and we really do hope you have good fortune with everything going on. I know you have a lot of work ahead of you, but
We can't wait for your next beer.
it's going to be worth it.
I'll
Yeah.
share it with you guys. It'd be cool.
Excellent.
You can come by the garage and get a
like
taste.
Your
garages.
Farmer Brewers.
Yeah,
Please.
come by and have a taste.
All right. Looking
Well-
forward to it.
Until next time,
Cheers.
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 Hey everyone, thank you guys for listening to our awesome episode with Anonymous Brewing Company. Kevin from Rowley, Mass. That's awesome to give my hometown a shout out, and we finally have our own brewery.
Hell yeah.
Woohoo! And if you guys thought this episode sounded kick-ass,
Tell a friend
Or 2.
or 3,
What?
or more.
you know why it also sounded awesome?
Because John Jazz Abbott at Small Pond Studios.
Jazzy jazz.
So if you guys are a band, solo artist, spoken word, poet,
Wherever you need recorded, you go to Small Pond Studios in
And get it
Georgetown,
done.
Massachusetts.
yeah, it's the home of Brewers, which is kind of cool. We have a home.
We do have a home.
Aw.
Before it was my dining room, and now we have a home.
Yeah. Also, if you want to, make sure you check out his website. We will put the link in the bio below. But Ryan, what is it for the convenience of our
It is
listener?
smallpondstudios.io.
Yeah. So Jazz, sound engineer extraordinaire, is dabbling in some live audio, video production, which is honestly rivaling some of the best ones out there on YouTube right now. So if you guys aren't catching some of the coolest acts that he is hosting here, you are really missing out. And who doesn't like music? Oh, that's a big silence right there. Everybody loves music. So, so catch them and make sure, if you guys like what you heard, tell a friend, rate, subscribe us, share us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I guess. I don't know how the kids are doing that. MySpace. And
What are you kids doing these days?
yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.